Ever felt like you need a crystal ball just to predict your next grocery bill? One week, steak is affordable, the next it's a luxury. Or maybe you've watched fuel prices swing wildly and wondered, what on earth is actually driving this? It feels random, doesn't it? Like some invisible hand just arbitrarily decides things are more or less expensive. But here's the mind-blowing truth. It's anything but random. Every single price fluctuation, from the cost of a loaf of bread to the value of a skyscraper, is part of an intricate, interconnected global dance driven by forces far beyond what most of us consider. We're not talking about simple supply and demand for one product here. We're diving into the massive, often chaotic symphony of macroeconomics, where entire economies breathe in and out with price shifts. These aren't just numbers on a screen. They dictate wages, investments, government policies, and fundamentally, your financial future. Today, we're unmasking the hidden puppet masters behind these economic movements, exploring why prices fluctuate on a grand scale, and more importantly, what those fluctuations truly mean for all of us. Trust me, once you see how these pieces fit together, you'll never look at a price tag the same way again. Remember that gut punch when you went to fill up your tank last year, or when your grocery bill suddenly looked like a phone number? Or maybe you've seen headlines about countries where prices double, not over years, but in a single day, like Argentina battling triple-digit inflation right now, or the infamous hyperinflation of Weimar Germany, where people literally used wheelbarrows of cash to buy bread. These aren't just random acts of economic chaos. They're the visible tremors of massive, unseen forces constantly reshaping the value of everything around us. We often talk about supply and demand, and while that's a piece of the puzzle, it's just one tiny cog in a gigantic, intricate machine. Today, we're not just scratching the surface. We're diving headfirst into the fascinating, sometimes frustrating, world of macroeconomic price fluctuations. We're going to dissect why prices behave the way they do on a national and even global scale, exploring the hidden levers, the powerful feedback loops, and the surprising psychological factors that make everything from your morning coffee to your monthly rent swing wildly. This isn't just about understanding inflation or deflation. It's about grasping the very heartbeat of an economy, the rhythm that dictates prosperity and poverty, stability and crisis. By the end of this journey, you'll see every price tag with new eyes, understanding the complex ballet of forces behind it. And to really unravel this mystery, we have to start at the absolute bedrock, the grand interaction between what an entire economy wants to buy and what it's able to produce. We're talking about aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Ever wonder why your grocery bill seems to be doing acrobatics lately? It's usually down to some pretty fundamental forces. At its core, prices fluctuate due to changes in supply or demand. Think about it. A sudden freeze devastating Florida orange groves, like we've seen in past years, slashes supply, and suddenly your juice is pricier. Or if a new gadget like the latest iPhone becomes incredibly popular, demand spikes, and those prices climb. But there's a bigger beast in the room. Inflation. What exactly is inflation? Simply put, it's when the purchasing power of your dollar goes down because there's generally too much money chasing too few goods. We saw the U.S. Consumer Price Index soar to over 9% year-over-year in June 2022, a stark reminder of its power. Who tries to tame this? Central banks, like the U.S. Federal Reserve. Their monetary policy decisions, specifically raising or lowering interest rates, profoundly influence how much money circulates in the economy, and thus, prices. When Chair Jerome Powell and the Fed hiked rates aggressively, it was an explicit effort to cool things down. All these shifts don't just affect your wallet, they ripple through every corner of the economy. All right, let's talk about something that hits us all. Prices. When they bounce around, it's not just annoying, it can really shake things up economically. Think about it. These fluctuations hit different sectors unevenly. Energy producers might thrive when oil prices soar, but airlines and trucking companies? They're suddenly facing massive fuel costs, squeezing their margins unless they can pass those costs to consumers. Businesses unable to adapt quickly to these shifts, especially smaller ones with less pricing power, often face real financial difficulties, sometimes even bankruptcy. We saw this during the 2022 energy crisis following the conflict in Ukraine, where gas prices globally surged, impacting everything from manufacturing to transportation. Macroeconomic shocks, whether it's a natural disaster wiping out crops, like a hurricane hitting Florida's citrus groves, or a global event like the COVID-19 pandemic snarling supply chains, can lead to sudden, dramatic price movements. The global inflation we experienced recently, with the U.S. CPI hitting 9.1% in June 2022, showed how broadly these effects can ripple. So, how do we even begin to think about stabilizing prices? Hey everyone! Ever wonder how central banks like the Federal Reserve try to keep our economy from going totally haywire? It's all about stabilizing prices through monetary policy. Basically, they've got this powerful toolkit to manage those annoying price fluctuations. Think interest rates, like when Chairman Jerome Powell and the Fed hiked the federal funds rate aggressively in 2022 and 2023 to combat inflation that had surged past 9%. They also manage the money supply, influencing how much cash is sloshing around. By raising rates, they make borrowing more expensive, which cools down demand and, eventually, prices. Lowering them does the opposite. But here's the kicker. The effectiveness of these moves really depends on the economic landscape. Are we in a boom or a bust? Is unemployment high or low? A 0.25% rate hike hits differently when the economy's red-hot versus when it's already sputtering. It's a constant balancing act, always adapting to new challenges, trying to guide us towards that sweet spot of around 2% inflation. All right, as we bring this discussion to a close, I genuinely hope you're leaving with a deeper appreciation for just how fundamental macroeconomic price fluctuations truly are. These aren't abstract figures. They're the invisible forces shaping everything from your daily spending to national policy. For businesses, understanding these shifts is critical for planning and resilience. And for policymakers, grasping the causes of inflation or deflation and their ripple effects is essential for crafting policies that foster economic health. We've explored how aggregate demand, supply, and central bank actions all play a role. But what does this really boil down to? Here's the core takeaway. In a world of constant change, a nuanced understanding of price movements isn't just academic knowledge, it's empowerment. It provides the foresight to anticipate, adapt, and make smarter, resilient decisions, whether you're an entrepreneur, an investor, or simply navigating your own finances. Ultimately, understanding price fluctuations isn't just about economics. It's about confidently navigating our complex economic world. Now, I'm genuinely curious. What's one specific price fluctuation you've noticed recently that really made you stop and think? Share your insights or questions in the comments. If you found this deep dive valuable and want more economic clarity, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next video.